Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. I will be your host for tonight's program, being Friday. This is the 188th program broadcast by the Belizean Affairs Show. And we welcome you back once more. We hope that the program that is presented tonight will accrue to some public benefit to our Belizeans at home and abroad. Thank you again for tuning into our show, whether it be tonight live and or later on at your own convenience. Let me put my mic on. I didn't have it on, so nevertheless, we'll proceed with the program as we normally do, which is I would say a short prayer, after which I'll do a short reading. I'll just bow my head for a minute. Divine loving Father, once again we come before thy presence, asking thy mercies. We pray that thou must continue to guide and protect and bless us. Please continue to be merciful unto us. Don't know us our hearts, our desires, and even our most secret thoughts. We pray that thou must bless our family members, friends and loved ones, wherever they are, as if they were each mentioned by name and number. We pray that thou must bless our country of Belize, its people, and its leadership as well. We pray that thou must bless this country of the United States, its people and leadership, and that thou must bless the rest of humanity, loving Father, especially those people who are in danger and being harmed, sometimes for no justifiable reason, whether it be because of man-made disasters, wars, whether it be because of natural disasters, hurricane, tornadoes, earthquake, volcano eruptions, or any other matter. We pray that thou must continue to be merciful unto us. We ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. I'll just proceed then by reading a short verse here from, I'll pick Proverbs chapter, let's see, give me a second, let me put on my supplemental. I'll read from Proverbs chapter 3, and it says, My son, forget not my laws, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall be added to thee. Amen. If you bear with me for a second, just give me a couple of seconds. Let me put this stuff on the, so that I can launch this second part of the program here. We have the program on 3 different locations, and this particular location, every time we launch the program, while somebody else is doing the reading, I'm fiddling with this, trying to launch it. As of right now, Mr. Wade is not available, or Mr. Brackett is not available as well. So I'll just proceed to, let's see, deal with this side issues here for a second, and after that I'll go back and fix it up. What do I want to do here? Let's see. Go back quickly. I want to take that off of. I want to unlock. I'm trying to unlock the program on the other platform and turn that one live as well. I have a few other things that I need to do, but I'll take care of those at another point. So while I'm bumbling here with this, okay, I'll just let this go for right now, so I can proceed with the live portion without any more disruption. Our program for tonight will deal with some legal matters as well as some political matters. As regards to the legal matters, let me just start off by reading a section of the Constitution here. That is the Belize Constitution, Part 1, Section 2. And subsection 1, which reads as follows. This Constitution is the supreme law of Belize, and if any other law, such as laws made by Congress, substantive laws, or process, procedures, protocols, department guidelines, or ministers' statutory instrument, or whatever, if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law shall to the extent of the inconsistency be void. And why I'm reading this is because I want to go into a particular portion where also in the Constitution it tells us that the government should take over no private property from any private individual to favor another private property possession of that property that they took from the original owner. And as if we don't have enough lawyers in cabinet and they don't have money in our treasury anymore because they probably gave it all to Mr. Ashcroft and the other lawyers them who have been battling these cases. So probably they can't get outside consultations like they did with Mr. Menendez and Mr. Jaworowicz. But I'm sure that we have the Attorney General, who is also a legal man, and he has a whole host of other individuals under his ministry who deal with legal matters as regards to cases against the government. And our government keep getting sued, and in some instances they don't even get sued, but they settle for hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars without telling us. They keep making these side deals behind the scene with private investors, getting into private concerns, when the Prime Minister himself, in his own words, says that he and his government do not get involved with private business. As regards to when the BSI ASR was taking advantage of the cane farmer, and the cane farmer wanted to know why is it that the BSI ASR is taking more money than they should be taking, and claims that they need to pay for things that they had not made available the information to the cane farmers, and that they, the BSI ASR, don't want nobody to get into their books and find out what the real facts are. The Prime Minister put the cane farmers over a barrel and sided with the big company, as he does with all other foreign investors and or big companies. He always push our people under the bus. For example, right now they found out that they can't move forward as fast as they wanted to with the Portico conniving, dastardly, treacherous and treasonous effort. Even members of the cabinet rebelled and put a stop to it. And the Prime Minister has been working behind the scenes to try and see how well he can suborn in cabinet to help him get it out of there so that he can vote for it and move it forward. But now they have a different backup plan. As part of that solution, they got rid of Mr. Ashcroft and his sport expectations or desires. And then they turn around and get in bed with the Zabanese to create another port exercise down in Stan Creek. But I won't deal with that substantively. I'm just referring it in passing because I'm speaking on all these other different things. Now we have the big elephant in the room, which is the State Bank project under Mr. Feinstein. And I can recall a while back on this particular platform when we were discussing the problems that we were having with Mr. Ashcroft, and I said that Mr. Ashcroft was going to sue us and that he was going to win his case if he go all the way to have it heard, because there was no way that government could have prevailed, and or that government would settle with him even before he gets to that stage, because they don't want egg on their face. Well, so said, so done. They went ahead and they settled with him as for the second option, because they did not want any egg on their face. They didn't want it for the general public to know all the hanky-panky and underhand corrupt things that they were doing in our name. So they settled the matter to save their face by subverting our government treasury to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars to pay him off and get him out of the process so he can move on. But then we don't have money right now to invest in creating or developing our own port. So now the jackals them in government sat in cabinet as per the Prime Minister's one statement, and they decided that cabinet had agreed that they were going to conspire with a foreign investor that was involved with Mr. Feinstein to take away Mr. Feinstein 50% of that project. They want to get a buy-in on that project. They want to have something to do with controlling that project as well. They go from project to project to project, and all they're trying to do is getting themselves involved in private people's business at public expense. I don't understand why we Belizean people are so dotish. I mean, I'm fed up. Okay, I'm at the point now where I'm not only just going to flag the politicians for their criminal conduct towards us and how they treat us, the people who vote for them and give them the powers, but the attitude and the response and they don't give a damn mindset of the people in just sitting around sucking their finger and hollering that things hard out here, while then they give the politician them one free ride for misuse, abuse, and do all manner of evil to we own people and we country and we patrimony, we assets. That shouldn't fly. We the people are the ones that have these jackals employed to take care of our affair, Belizean affairs. But it seems like as soon as they get elected, they own the whole show and they start to take care of their affairs and for them bodies' affairs and the investors' their affairs. To hell with the people. To hell with the country. Then go and sign side deal behind the scene. They not come and consult with us first. They not bring it to our attention. And even when we get to hear some things second hand, they are not shameless enough to publish the whole thing so we can know how they are dealing with our business. It takes these foreign investors to use the contracts that the government give them to beat us over the head with, regardless of what government is in power. Because when they sign those contracts in our name, we are the ones over the barrel, not them. Politicians come and go. But we, the people, remain. And then we have to deal with all the crap that they leave out there for us. And they want to be called honorable. There's nothing honorable about that kind of behavior or attitude or conduct. Going back to the State Bank issue. Why should the government get involved with a private concern out there under the guise or the falsehood that they're stating to us, the general public, that, oh, they are just trying to facilitate trying to get the project completed so that we, the people, can benefit from tourism. We, the people, are not benefit from no damn tourism so far. For none of those ports. Neither the one that Mr. Ashcroft had, neither the one at State Bank, because it's not completed, nor the one at Portico that they were trying to create from their arrears. All because they had interest in it. Now they're going to come and lie to us and say that it's in our interest to have these private people take our patrimony and our asset and our money and our taxes into their pocket so that they can make more money. To hell with us. Those are the kind of things that causes revolutions in countries. When the government is so barefacedly taking advantage of the people and misuse the people's asset, while they starve a lot of the people, while not paying some of the employees them, the teachers them, and other people, civil servants, whom they docked their 10%. They haven't given them back all that money that they took from them. These people need their money because that money is going to determine how much they get for retirement. That's a technical part. I don't want to get into that part of the woods. I want to stay with this with this Feinstein thing. The Constitution says, government shall take no property from no private individual, save as under an eminent domain criteria. And it is not government that determines what is an eminent domain. That's a legal prerogative of Section 20 court review. For those who don't know, check it out yourself. I just made the reference. I made the contextualization in terms of what is it that governs that particular decision process. The government is not the one that determines whether or not the taking of a property is legal or not. They might want to think that they have a right to make that decision. I would like to be able to make that decision without any court interfering, as the Barrow administration tried to do by attempting to alter Section 69(9) of the Constitution and add additional things in there, in addition to adding in Section 2, Part 1, Section 2, Subsection 2, where they are claiming that that for all intents and purposes, any addition that they make to the Constitution, including blocking out the court from having proper judicial review of cases, all because they were losing the cases right, left, and center because of their criminal conduct and unconstitutional behavior, even as lawyers per se. These people know what they're doing. They're just hard and pulling with the system because nobody holds them to account. Well, at least the Barrow administration was held to account after the fact, but the damage and the deed was already done. Now, there is no way to hold the current Belizean administration to account because there is no real opposition per se, and whatever is left of what was the opposition is getting worse and worse by the day. The bottom line is that all these kind of shenanigans just empowers the present bunch of criminals to do worse and worse. If you look at when they first got into office, the first thing they did, chance the teachers and the civil service them. The next thing they did, went ahead and tried to bastardize our constitution and try to legitimize the political malfeasance. They went and negotiated with Mr. Ashcroft behind the scene and paid the man off hundreds of millions of dollars and still owe the man additional $100 million that they're going to pay $25 million every year for the next 5 years. On top of all that's gone on before and all the amount of money that they gave him before. That's not to say that the man had gotten already from the UDP hundreds of millions of dollars too, just before this present PUP group came in. So Mr. Ashcroft had gotten over $1 billion between these two parties. That's why he financed both parties. He gave them political campaign for drain for weak offers because they're both beholden to him. That's why he could have his finger meddling in each and everything in our country, including taking away the Prime Minister's smart internet company. But I want to get back to State Bank. I'm straying. I constantly stray away from the point. The government have no authority constitutionally to take away private property except under eminent domain with a law that specifies the circumstances, and if they're taking it under eminent domain, it means that it becomes public property. You're acquiring private property for public purpose. You cannot acquire private property under our laws and then turn it around and use it for private purposes. In other words, you help your body steal somebody else's property. Power play, using the powers of governance to take away somebody else's property by conniving and bastardizing and misusing the laws. You defraud one person to enhance the prospects of the next person. Let lawyers go to the court and battle out their issues. Our government should not be getting involved and compromising for legitimate governance prerogatives or rights. Now, should we be getting into a situation where we're going to bastardize and not only bastardize, because for them to go through the eminent domain process to try and acquire those properties out there in State Bank. Good night, Greg. I was in the middle of making a little short comment. You want to take the opportunity? You want to take the opportunity? Don't know that break just so I could continue the thought. Introduce yourself, sir. I yield. Greg, your mic is off. Okay, I'll just continue in the interest of the cohesiveness of the show, because it's getting disjointed. Back to the point that I was mentioning, that the government has no authority under our constitution, even if they want to pretend that they do, and they can bamboozle the people into believing that yes, they do. Under Section 20 review of we Constitution, and under other particular acquisition of private properties by government, the only way they can do that is to acquire that property for a public good or a public benefit. And they can't stipulate that the public benefit is to take this property from one private person and give it to another private person who they favor more, so that that next private person could become then the operator of the system, complete the system, operate the system, and the government has no shares in it. That's not the government's responsibility to facilitate those kind of backhanded transactions. That is illegal, unethical, immoral, and unprofessional. But as usual, the bunch of jackals we have running our country right now, they're used to that as their way of operating. And they suffer no consequences. And even when matters are ruled against us, it is not their pocket that feels or pays the bills. It is the people that end up paying for all the mistakes that they make. Because one way or another, one side or the other will always end up suing the government. So if the government goes ahead and appropriate unto themselves Mr. Feinstein's property, he's going to sue the government. And if the other person doesn't feel like they are made whole, they're going to sue Mr. Feinstein, and or they can turn around and sue the government. Even though there's a statement that the government is flaunting around, saying that, oh, they get a statement from these concerned business people that they will not let the government suffer any adverse results or condition from getting involved and helping them to solve this problem, that they will pay all the expenses. That is still conniving And that is still mafioso operation. You cannot subvert a whole government structure to help an indecent proposal, one indecent effort on the part of getting in the middle of two private people trying to screw each other, just for the government to get screwed. And we are those that are the ones that's going to end up getting taken advantage of. Not Mr. Briceño or his cabinet members or cohorts. When the stuff hit the ceiling or the fan, they disperse, they come out and they say, well, Mr. Briceño in the first instance had said that, oh, he didn't know what was happening. He didn't know what. If you don't know what the hell you're going to get yourself involved in, then are we that stupid to believe that you don't know, but you get yourself and by extension get we? Because it's our powers that you're suborning. So you don't get we involved in something that you know nothing about. And you lie to we and pretend that we should accept that. And you want to get vexed because we comment about it. You should have some shame. You shouldn't, in the first place, you should have some grace. You should not have had to address the matter if you weren't fully knowledgeable, competent, or capable, instead of making excuses for dastardly conduct. Gregory? Your mic is still muted, sir, but I don't know.
Good night, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, good night, Gregory. Would you care to introduce yourself to the panel, to the show, sir? I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir.
Let's go to the first case.
Feinstein has title for all that reclaimed land, which is a portion outside the red outline. It's a shade under 24 acres in his name. Inside the red area, it's 16.3 acres. That's what he says the bank holds, including an easement at the west end. 7 News has confirmed that he got titles to this land in November of 2021, yet when he signed a mortgage debenture for the bank in early 2022, those properties were not included in the debenture. So he has title to those he claims unencumbered. Reports say his attorney Godfrey Smith has advised the bank that this diminishes significantly the value of the inner area that they hold the title for. The bank and the receiver reportedly are expected to accuse Feinstein of fraud.
Greg,
Go ahead, sir.
you played that. You had played it before the other night when we were talking on this same subject, and I failed at that time. I didn't take the opportunity to clarify something technically and legally. Okay, on this issue of the two different parcels of land, one which was the original key itself that Feinstein used as his original proposal for developing the key as it was then, which he had a title to that particular piece of land, and then subsequently he acquired title to the additional piece of land that he had filled in, because the original title did not include any title for land that was part of the sea at the time that was not filled in. He acquired those second title after he acquired the first title, and there were two different titles. He used one piece of the property as the collateral, but did not use the second piece. And there's no way that the court should or would or may entertain the new owners them or the people that try to take it away from him for them to get possession of his second title as well, because that was not part of the deal that he swung. He never put up the whole of his project as one of the as total collateral. He put up part of his property. It's like if I have two lands side by side and I want to get one loan from one of them, if I don't put up the second one, that means I don't want the second one involved with the first one. I'm not encumbering the second one. And if the bank is willing to lend me the money or whatever that I am in negotiation with them, and the first property satisfied their needs or their criteria, then they can't come afterwards to the court or to the public or to anybody or anywhere and claim that, oh, the man have a second piece of parcel next door, so I want to hold on to that too. They don't have no rights to that. Other than if they could say, okay, well, the property that we lend the man the money pan, we didn't do our own due diligence, and therefore the property wasn't valued enough for us to recover all the money, and we need to recover all the money. So now we want to attach an additional claim for any other assets that he had, which then could include the next person what the man have, right, next door. But that's a new venture that they would be embarking on. Then can't go back and willy-nilly say, well, because he had the second piece of land, that automatically, that whether it should have or shouldn't have, the fact that it is not a part of the thing that they did their due diligence on, and that they decided to give the man the loan on, that they want to come out with a second-hand effort to try and claim that they were defrauded. They were not. They're the one trying to perpetrate a fraud. So they're not supposed to be able to win such a case in court. Therefore, getting the government involved to take away the whole thing from the man and the eminent domain. And then turn around and give it to the other preferred people, the whole thing, not only just the original part, but the rest of it as well. So government is suborning all governance power, misusing our constitution and our laws as they are constantly doing now, because it's like too many times in a row, these guys, for the reason which is why I call them jackals and hyenas and vultures, because and acting as a cabal of mafias under the guise of a government. Those are the classification or description that befits these guys' conduct. So I don't want to have nobody come and tell me, well, I'm speaking out of turn, or I'm mislabeling people, or I'm maligning them. Look at the damn conduct, which is what I'm describing. If you don't like how I describe it yourself. But what I describe and the way I describe it fits exactly what the facts are. But Greg, I'm monopolizing the show, and I was getting hot under the collar a little bit before you came on, sir. And I just want to relieve myself a little bit by turning over to you for your comments based on what you have heard so far and what
Thank you, Mr.
knowledge and
Chairman.
input allows you. You're
We'll
welcome, sir.
say it is very easy to analyze what happened within the mortgage with Mr. Feinstein and the bank. And you, as well as I know, and many other people living abroad that do business, car dealers, insurance company knows that when you go to purchase a car, if you don't read through the fine print and you sign on the dotted line, hey, it's unchangeable. So when he went to the bank and he told them, well, look, I only want the mortgage and this part right there. This is what I need help with. And the bank went ahead and they did the mortgage. There's nothing illegal in that. There's no fraud in that. If that company wants to go after anyone, they need to go after the bank who made the deal. Because Mr. Feinstein did not perpetrate no fraud. You have the right to sell a piece of your land.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right to mortgage out a piece of your land, not the whole in entity, to anyone you choose to. And that is the case of what is happening here. Now, when we look at government who wants to use the eminent domain law for a private investor, that is totally ludicrous. Because when it comes for public use, if taxpayers' funds is not used to pay for it, then it will not be considered for public use. But we have a problem here where past and present government always uses the people when they are doing these businesses with foreign entities.
Nefarious.
And they
Evil.
gave up all these concessions with nothing coming back to the people. And now they want to use that as though the people have share in it.
We don't have a
You
share,
have
not a penny.
never given anything to the people of Belize from that. But you want to use it in the name of the people of Belize. As I
Crazy.
said before, there's a right way and a wrong way. There's a right way to informally amend the Constitution or formally amend it. What the government should have done before they decide to do this was go back to the law, to the act, and pass an amendment in it that under eminent domain, the government can take over private property for economical gain, because then the country has to gain from the tourism coming in. But you cannot, under eminent domain, take private property without regret.
On
Go
that
ahead,
point,
sir.
Greg, thank you. Um, you're 100% perfectly in order when you make that stipulation. But I want to add something else to it. That is that if the government was really operating on behalf of the government and people of Belize, which is one and the same, by the way, we, the people of Belize, are the government of Belize. It's just that we have managers day to day that we entrust to look after our affairs for us. But at the end of the day, the buck stopped with us. If these idiots had good faith towards the people who entrust them with these powers, they will first of all not negotiate behind their back and keep everything in secret. Even when the deal is done, the deal is not publicized unless somebody go and puts it out there against their will. But in the first place, in those documents that they create, they wouldn't be giving no 25 years concession with the right to renew for another 25 years after that, which means they will end up with 50 years and another right to renew after that and after that. In other words, those companies come to our country and set up business, then pay no taxes, then derive all the benefits, they make all the money. It's an extraction business. They extract the wealth of the country from the patrimony, and they leave nothing behind. They contribute nothing to the society other than the few little jobs for the employees. Then when they have to hire, that we have to provide, we have to educate them, provide for them, and make them be available to come and work for them. Then they get a lease salary and they say, well, that's the benefit that the country derives. The lease salary when they pay the employees them. And by the way, and I pay them all the time too, because I never pay them like when I pay the foreign workers. Then sometimes I bring in foreign workers as managers or as bosses, and they are handsomely paid at the salary rates that they get in their foreign countries, with other benefits and other stuff that they give them, which they don't do to local Belizeans. But I'm concerned more about the tax issue. If anybody come and do business in the country, the least they can do is be honest and fair-minded enough to pay their fair share of the taxes that help to run the country. So I'm not in favor of these 20-odd, 50-odd years concession, while then they make all the money and then do like what Will Sampson do. After they don't make all the money and it's time for them, for the concession to end, then pick up and go about their business or they sell off the venture to somebody else. I want our government to work on our behalf. Encourage these investors to come in the country, facilitate them with however you need to facilitate them for a price. They have to be good corporate citizens. They cannot come in and be vultures and be malignant. Take, and extract and don't give back nothing. But these jackals and hyenas and vultures that we have populating our governance affairs offices, all they are looking about is who come in with the briefcase, how much can be left behind. And that's why they are so easily suborned, and everybody in the world know who they are, how they are, and what they're about. So everybody try to relate to us the same way. Suborn the leaders them and use the people them as modern slaves. even though the Constitution said nobody should be working as no more than a slave. These guys don't care about no Constitution. They don't care about no law and order. They don't care about rules. They hand and pull with Constitution and with rules and with laws and whatever else not to serve their own treacherous and evil ways. They're not about governance, much less good governance. I yield back, sir. Thank you very much for the time just now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaking about the
You're welcome, Leonard.
Constitution, I want the people at home and abroad to know that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land,
I just read that from the Constitution just before you came on, Greg.
not the government, not even the judges in the judiciary.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution is what holds the judiciary and democracy together, and judges must rule on that law. Secondly, government is violating Mr. Feinstein's constitutional right to land, and this has already have a precedent case in the Bowen case that
Again,
Judge Kante ruled
exactly.
on. So they must pay redress if they intend to take it. But government is trying to play a cat and mouse game by saying they're going to take it compulsory and wants to wait to see if the case in the court will either say he commits fraud or the land belongs to him. Now imagine a government doing these type of shenanigans,
It's a
which is
conspiracy.
also
It's a conspiracy. It shouldn't be happening.
legal conspiracy is what it is called. Conspiring with a private entity to take over a private investor's property. That is what is called legalized conspiracy.
First of all, then stop the man from being able to go forward by denying him his environmental clearance. And while he was fighting to try and get that cleared up, his time was running, his money was being used because the project kept on being financed. Okay? So they create the first instance, the government I'm talking about, create the first instance in which they were trying to undermine him on behalf of um, Mr. Ashcroft and on behalf of Portico. So the government can be sued without having to deal with any of the other second-hand stuff that we are now talking about since the Feinstein issue came up with their banking and all the other things. And those are secondary or ancillary issues. On that primary issue alone, the government can be sued, and Mr. Feinstein would definitely win that particular suit, much less any of the other subsequent suits. But yield back, sir. I yield back. I just want us to interject a little
But
bit. No?
it goes beyond that, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for healing.
You're welcome, sir.
I will say this personally from my knowledge and belief. If you take Mr. Feinstein's land under eminent domain, you will lose the case. I will tell you why. Because you government was boxing another tourist corporation in the name of Port Magic Portico. That is how come you got sued by the Ashcroft regime and
Exactly.
you end up paying it. When Mr. Feinstein, who you was, I will say legalized blackmailing to
Mm-hmm.
prevent a native born Belizean
Mm-hmm.
from having his cruise terminal port.
A violation of
And
the
he turned
Constitution.
around and was trying to sue you. This is the outcome that you get. But it is my belief that no court will take Mr. Feinstein land away from him under eminent domain in the name of public use because the public owns a port in the port of Belize and government have adequate time from since they come into government and the amount of money that they go around and borrow could have put into the port of Belize to make a tourist dock for the Belizean people.
Uh, Greg,
Go
one
ahead, sir.
sentence, another sentence that I want to add. When Mr. Feinstein added the extra land that he filled up, in addition to the original size of the key that was there before, he was considerate enough, and I'm going to be presumptuous now, right? And sit and pretend that I'm a judge in order to explain how the judges would think and how the judges are commanded by law to relate to these type of cases. Of course, some of them don't, which is why sometimes they get overruled by other appellate courts and so on. And you have different levels of so sometimes cases last long in a court because judges do get overruled. That's my point that I'm trying to bring across here. But I'm going to pretend like I'm the judge just for argument's sake to try and facilitate our program in understanding what is it that we are trying to convey to people. We're trying to say to people that if a judge, for example, have this particular case before them, the judge will say, by the way, wasn't there an easement provided by Mr. Feinstein on the newly created land that he had the new title for? Wasn't he considerate of the needs of whoever is it? Because remember now, he had 50% equity or ownership in this venture, right? He was involved with some other foreign entities to create this venture. He acquired the first island on which he was going to do this thing. While he got his permit to do this thing on the island, he acquired the additional lands that he himself filled in and developed that had nothing to do with the original part, and he provided an easement for them. Was he not being considerate of them in the second instance after he realized, okay, well, he's filling in an area that maybe they will not have access to the seas if he not give them an easement, which is a natural requirement for adjacent lands, right? When you have two separate property, you can't have one property that block the other property access to easement, exit and entrance to their property, which is why they create roads sometimes, or they create alleys in cities, or they create streets, or they create, there are ways for people, is required for people to be able to gain access to their land if the land is behind yours. Therefore, you create or allow for an easement. Mr. Feinstein fulfilled that obligation. It's not like he was locking them in altogether and therefore depreciating for them, the value of their property or making for them property incapable and or unable to serve the purpose for which they wanted, which is to use the seas to dock their ship. Then could dock their ship right apart and provide the easement, right? And they could have people go in and out from when he provide the easement. But because he won the extra land and he could develop those extra land, and because of the development that the company is doing, he will derive benefits and they will derive benefits. Because the more development happen in the area, both properties increase in value. But now they want to grab the man other asset because the bank claim that they lend the man some $60 million, and that because his project was being slowed down by government and he couldn't complete it on time and he's not making the revenue according to his original plan, and the man is economically in a bind, then turn around the bank in cooperation with the government and the other entities, turn around and then decide to call a loan, make the bank call a loan, and when and because the man couldn't come up with the loan amount, the bank then decided to put a caretaker, right? This caretaker will turn around and borrow $160 million, which is 3 times more than what the original loan that was given to Feinstein. He borrowed this money in a Feinstein name or in a Feinstein project, which means that he encumbered the project for 4 times the original value of the loan. You have the outstanding 50 60 million plus the other 150 60 that he put, which means you have $200 million outstanding, right? But then the Feinstein have to come up with all the extra $200 million instead of just come up for the money from the original loan for 50 million where he couldn't come up with it in the first place. That's putting the man in a box. That's binding the man. Put him in a situation where he can't come out of. The man never, the man who took over the thing from Feinstein never had no right to do that without Feinstein consent. So that's another lawsuit waiting in the wings to happen. Then could hold the property until Feinstein next some other deal with some other investors to come up with the money, to pay off the stuff and continue the journey to complete the port. But no, for we Belize government is so hot under the collar to get involved with where big money they roll, so they want to subvert for we governance powers and for we expose for we treasury. Because believe me, from the fact that Feinstein then sue the government of Belize and the Attorney General, we spend money up front for legal processes already. Okay? We have lawyers, we have all kind of things involved, we have documentation, creation, and the whole slew, all that it takes to defend yourself when you're being sued by these mega companies. So, Prime Minister I don't want you to come to me later or to Jules and to anybody later and say, well, we not spend no money, that the private people then they spend the money, and if anything go wrong, that the private people they want. No, we don't spend money already. And when the private people, their business go wrong, or they end up the court and then sue each other, and then feel like they lose, then walk away from the damn thing, and we left on the lamb again, holding the bag. So, Mr. Prime Minister, get your act together, straighten out stuff that all of us out there are a bunch of fools. Stop putting us in an uncompromising situation. I yield back, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir.
But this video I'm about to play will show the Belizean people at home and abroad exactly what the government is up to. Because I believe there's a lot of legalized conspiracy and blackmail going on around in government. And I will tell you why when the tape is finished playing.
Go ahead, sir.
I will mention it. Listen to this.
The coastline, a pine-ridge forest, and the Maya Mountains as a backdrop. There are few places as picturesque as Commerce Bight, about a mile and a half south of Dangriga. But it also has the deepest waters of any port in Belize.
Many Belizeans are unaware that Commerce Bight is the only natural occurring deepwater port in Belize.
And that's why tourism investor Basilio Zabané is spearheading a $50 million Belize pocket tourism and luxury yacht project. Ground was broken on Friday with the area rep, the Prime Minister, and the Minister of Tourism in attendance. The project to transform this battered old pier and the surrounding area will be in 3 phases.
Where the actual structure is right now, that will just be slightly modified to receive international small yachts. Okay, and those then will also benefit from the services of the marina itself. From what is here now at the head of this pier, which is 535 feet out, a depth of 20 feet, can accommodate easily these smaller vessels that might require only 10, 15 feet. There will be floating docks, as I've been informed, another 500 feet out that takes you to depths of about 35 feet.
Okay.
That's where the small luxury boats or small cruise ships would be docking.
But to do this, Zabané and his company, Southern Deep Port Development Limited, will have to find $50 million. Okay, so are you confident here today that it is something that will be able to find financing to reach completion?
Yeah, as you know, and you're well read and in tune, $50 million is pittance for these types of projects these days, and it's a lot of money is out there, and we believe that. I think Belize is a hot destination, and there are investors out there who would want to invest their money into Belize.
To get the ships here would not be difficult. I think the difficulty is the actual investment. I'm told it's going to be around $50 million to be able to uplift it.
And a big part of stoking that investor confidence is contained in this document, the Parliament approved public-private partnership, which makes the government more than a vested interest. They're a shareholder. I saw the PPP.
Now, people at home and abroad, there you go. This is exactly why I'm specifying that no judge will take away Mr. Feinstein's property under eminent domain because the government has shares in the commercialized port, and those shares should be for public purpose. That means the
Greg?
Belizean people, but they are not saying that
Greg?
because at the end you will hear, if I had played, where Mr. Zavani say it's for the people, to help the people. So where is the check and balance? Is the shares that the government have coming to the people, or is it coming through the help that Mr. Zavani is speaking about? Go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
The people that you're talking about or that they're talking about that's going to benefit from it are the investors and their investment group. Whether they be Belizeans or foreigners, however, they are going to benefit from it. Our government, I want to ask the question, how much taxes is shown on their development plan that is going to trickle down to the government? How much is going to trickle down to employees? And how much the country is going to benefit from that? Everybody come in and fleece the country, use repatriate money and make for them money. And as for Mr. Mala, yes, it is true that $50 million is pittance in the economic world today. And a lot of people out there have a lot of money. The Southern Cartel could easily finance that venture for us in Belize. At what price to Belize? Does anybody know? I don't think Mr. Mala is deliberately telling on himself. The gentleman is smart. But he should be smart enough to not tell on himself. You recall that phrase, Gregory?
Yes, I do, but Mr.
He's telling on
Chairman,
himself when he
Mr.
makes those kind of
Chairman, let me
statements.
say this.
But most Belizeans aren't supposed to be hip to what he's saying. Go ahead, sir.
Likewise, Mr. Chairman, if you recall, Mr. Feinstein had a problem with the causeway and government, but yet the government wanted to build a bridge from San Pedro to Quintana Roo. You recall that?
Under what authority or under what kind of scheme that would make that any different than the one that you just brought up before? That was a 100% perfect example that you gave there just now. If they want to do one, why they can't allow the other? Not only that, worse than those two, the Portugal stuff was filling in a whole big part of the ocean and making one road all the way out to the Portugal facility. In the ocean, cutting off all the manatee and destroying part of the reef when I have to judge being the deeper ship there. And a whole lot of other rigmarole that we haven't even spoken to yet. And for we people to fly blind, que viva POP, que viva POP. And then they elect the Honduran, instead of elect 101 people, they send that in Congress could rule them. Bunch of idiots. Go right ahead, sir.
As I was saying though, winning a case under eminent domain will be a hard thing to do because
It's a false pretext. It's a
it
no-go.
is. It is a false pretext.
It's
You
a
know
no-go.
why? The video I just played, you heard specifically that comets right have the deepest water, so that can bring in the big ships. So if they are going to extend floating that for the smaller cruise ships, then extend it for the bigger ones. It's as simple as that. If that
But
project is 50,
Greg,
put another
POP,
100 million in
wait,
there.
wait, wait. Make I get political now because in the beginning of the program when you wasn't on yet, I was introducing what the program was going to do tonight with legal matters, with the constitutional matters, and I also threw in there one comment about political. Let's use this example that you brought up just now for the political part of it. POP is not the first time that they say something where could make some money that they want to grab it and take control of it. They did that under the Musa administration. They did that under the Price administration before. And this Briceño is doing it under his current administration. For the time they come in this present administration, they have all been raping and scraping the bottom of the barrel with no regards for anything that anybody have to say or how shameless they are. They just pretend like they don't hear what people are saying or the comments. Then pretend that they have no interest in doing anything that is wrong or nefarious. And they move ahead and they commit all kind of evil actions against we, the people of Belize, anyhow. And so what? People talk about accountability. To PUP, past and present, accountability is just another trash bag word. It's throwing at the trash bag. They have no regard, respect, consideration, and or maybe even understanding of what that means. And they don't want to be bothered with it here because it encompasses their agenda. They currently are doing the same thing that they did the last time around, just a little worse because they got no flag for it. And it's all about money making. The Zabanese them are going to sponsor PUP part, for how many years in the future. And you know how much of them boats were there at Guatemala where every year have to leave Guatemala, wind up the country Belize. So you have one back and forth transaction going on with tourism and population exchange and no economic gain for Belize as a country, only for the investors. That's what it's all about. You know, here the man say, oh, they are developed the commerce by thing to put the lead boats them, the lead tourist boats them. And then afterwards they extend it out to accommodate the larger size boats them. And these guys are planning in the future to grab and control one part of the industry for themselves. They're not worried about no country. They're not worried about no taxes. They're not worried about no local employees. Because most of the employees will come from across the Melchor, as usual. The Zabanese them in Sand Creek that have the banana plantation there, making all those hundreds of millions of dollars. How much carry people you see they hire? Then go to Guatemala and bring across Guatemalan people from Melchor that the Constitution said we're not supposed to give no citizenship to. Then bring them, then build a house for them, then give them house and lot, right? Then give them work, and those people are ingratiated with them. While the local Belizeans in Sand Creek there have no work, and Sand Creek becomes stagnant, and the only money that goes into Sand Creek is the money where the people and bring, where come in can do their work from Melchor. Most of the money they carry across the Melchor for their original family. They spend on Libitite, that's Sand Creek. And then they spend on Libitite developing in one villages because the villages they want to develop now are bigger. Some of them, as that one with Honduran guy just win the election for, it's going to be bigger than PG pretty soon. As a matter of fact, that's going to become the center of the administration for the whole of Toledo district at one point. I'm saying that ahead of time. And like I always say, all the things that I said before, the incident come true. So when I see that come true, to not say nothing about it, because at the rate that that particular village is growing, it don't take more than 5 to 10 years before they become bigger than Punta Gorda. Okay? I yield back, sir. Belizeans, wake up. Or maybe I'll just enjoy sleeping or resting, no?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead,
if
sir.
the present government wants to listen to the past Prime Minister, who has cost Belize a lot of money with the taking over of BCL, so Mr. Ashcroft, believing that from inciting him that the people have cash because they give up concession, so they can go ahead and take Mr. Feinstein's land under eminent domain. I have one thing to say to them.
Completely different.
I have one thing to say to them. Because the past Prime Minister is the one who added Section 9 under our Constitution 69
Exactly.
to try to do the same scheme
Power
that
grab.
is happening. But as I said, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And all cases that are ruled upon is based on the Constitution.
Should be based on the Constitution. Should be. I wouldn't go as far
Let's
as to
go
accept
to
what
the
you say
tape.
is, because
This is
the
just
last
a
judge,
reminder.
the last judge did anyhow, sorry.
This is a reminder to the present government and the past Prime Minister.
I think two of the biggest cases, not run of the mill at all, that he is responsible for is, of course, it was Dr. Conte as the Chief Justice who ruled that customary land tenure of the indigenous Maya merits constitutional protection. Landmark case. After that, many places I went throughout the region, they would inquire of the Chief Justice Conte because that decision had a ripple effect throughout, it echoed throughout the region. And that judgment has prevailed. And another case, less well known, would have been a case brought by the late Sir Barry Bowen relating to, I think it was land rights to oil under the ground and so on.
Under the soil.
And the question arose, that case, in that case, Chief Justice Conte introduced into Belize the basic structure doctrine in simple terms that says that even though we used to believe that a government with the appropriate majority can amend anything in the Constitution it wants, this theory, this principle said there are certain basic elements of the Constitution that even with the requisite majority can't be changed, such as fundamental rights and freedoms and independence of the judiciary. So that was another case that had profound impact.
But one has a sense that he was always writing, especially the big judgments, with an eye on history.
Mm-hmm.
As to the answer,
Mr.
Greg,
Chairman,
Greg, the answer to Jules Vasser's question that the good learned gentleman justice was writing for history, that is what Supreme Court and Chief Justice do. They write the legal thing so that it sustains throughout history, because it becomes a precedent, it becomes a stare decisis.
and you know what?
That's their job.
The past Prime Minister should be lucky he didn't wrote it, because he'd have been in jail right now for the abuse of the people's money in the house.
And this
So
one,
he
this
should
one,
be thankful.
this one should take caution because he deserves to be in jail himself. He holler at a former prime minister, at a former boss, Mr. Musa, and say, bring back some of the money, won't care. No, he didn't care, and they let more money than when Mr. Musa allowed to get out of weak offers. He didn't allow out of weak offers. For him, what deserve to be in a jail too.
Had
He could
he
come over
only
to his
put
face anytime he want.
had he put that ruling in writing, the past Prime Minister would have been in some serious trouble when he ruled on that case. So I'm just saying, not coming from us, but looking back and past cases, and there are still other cases that has to do with eminent domain that has been struck down in the High Court,
Greg,
formerly known as the Supreme Court.
Greg,
Go ahead, sir.
I want to pat you on the back and big us sure by saying that a lot of people here they expound on these things from the time this platform began, and even before then we were on another platform expounding on these same issues. A lot of people used to question, well, since we are not locally members of Belize Bar Association, why is it that we expound so vehemently on these issues, and why is it that we say the things that we say when we are not credentialed lawyers according to them? We are not supposed to be knowledgeable about these things. But aren't these great lawyers and justice like Conte and lawyers like Godfrey and others vindicating what we have said and done? Aren't the judges right now on the bench ruling and saying the very thing that we said was going to happen before it happened? But they laugh at us and they say, well, we just have one show and we didn't make our puppet show ourselves because we don't know what to talk about. Kudos to them. I yield back, sir.
You know, when you said that, I smiled because social media is a wonderful place where you can educate and get educated, especially in what is going on in your country and your constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say to anyone, if they were reading it up and follow case laws and ruling in your country, then you would know exactly what we are speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because here in Belizean affair, we not only just say, we show and tell. And we show and tell from these elected ministers exactly what they say.
We show and we tell, we educate, we learn, and we predict on the basis of our knowledge and other capabilities. Because some of the things that we speak of on this particular show is not always news. And the news people would not venture into getting into as a subject or clarifying as a subject unless they have the evidence that comprises news, by the way, before they speak on the matter to the general public. But we take a little different tack. We know we're going with the standpoint. Therefore, because we hold ourselves to a higher level, and we are, in my case, I'm a blood-sworn vanguard of my country. It is my responsibility to know these things, to delve into these things, and to learning and knowing and understanding these things is of no importance to my brains if I can't get it out there and impart it to others. Because I can't save the country by myself. It's not a one-man government or a one-man opposition or a one-man solution to the problem. It takes the people of the country to understand what is going on with their country and for them to understand that they can't be sitting by sucking their finger and pretending that it's no big deal. It should be a big deal. They need to get off their butt and get busy. Stop elect these same scoundrels over and over and over. Stop to take their money and then food and then beer and whatever else not. They give them a little piece of land which they, by law, they're supposed to give them. But that doesn't make you beholden for the rest of your life. or you don't owe the rest of your life to these people because those lands are your patrimony. They belong to you. You're entitled to a part of it. But anyway, I rant again and I get hot and I call and I know how to do a disservice to the show. You are presenting some eloquent points tonight as well, and I need to be able to allow the show to vindicate itself rather than my getting upset and getting, you know.
Well, as we were saying, Mr. Chairman, people at home and abroad, what we do on Belizean Affairs is trying to enlighten you, to keep you updated on what is happening, and also to try to educate you on our Constitution. Because right now you had government, had third party and other individuals going around trying to teach the Constitution.
Lying to people. You know, you teach nothing, and they
But
lie to the people outright. I don't get no
they are
excuse and no
only
thanks.
telling you what they want you to know
Precisely.
and asking you to give up your rights, which they are trying to take out of the Constitution, which is your fundamental right.
The
Section
Constitution,
1,
Greg, the Constitution says except with the person's own consent. And these jackals are getting the people to give their own consent to their own demise, which is unfortunate that people, you know, can be hoodwinked in such a way and still don't understand that that's what's taking place.
well, you see, that is why I say people must try and educate themselves on the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Because Part 1, Section 2 bars the government from making any laws that is inconsistent with the Constitution. And Section 20 protects your fundamental rights.
Exactly.
And this is what they are after. It's a proven fact. Because if you watch the state of emergency, how unconstitutional it is when they try to bar you from judicial review, that is just telling you what their intentions are. And people still don't get the point. The government is trying to turn you into sovereign citizens to go against the head of state because they believe you need a new identity. And they will fool you and trick you by telling you we need to get away or separate from the people that has us in slavery. We need to do repatriation. They need to pay us and all these good stuff. When in fact their intent is to turn the country into a republic
And
and
make us into
take
modern
away
slaves.
your fundamental rights.
Make us into modern slaves.
That is
Bunch of
correct.
jackals.
And you know, it's a shame because you talk to some Belizean people, or most Belizean people, and majority of the people still believe that Belize is an independent country. And I have to sometimes go beyond to express to them that
Conditional
an
independence.
independent country does not have a head of state.
Well,
You
yes, they
check
do. Greg,
all
Greg, Greg,
over the
Greg,
world.
Greg, right there, right there. All countries have a head of state, especially if they are independent. But that head of state, if it's not elected by the people, is a conditional status that that country has. If you can elect your head of state, such as a president or whatever that head of state is, like in India, India is a republic, but
Right.
their head of
But
state, wait,
Mr.
wait, wait.
Chairman, the
Okay,
point I was drawing, I
okay,
want the
go
people to
ahead,
know
go
the
ahead,
difference.
go ahead. I was getting
A
into the
head
weeds.
of state represented by what they call a rubber stamp.
Yeah, which is not. But anyhow,
Right, that is not
that's
true.
part of
But
them
he's
bamboozling
acting that
process.
way as we speak. With the way these SOEs are being signed now, there is nothing being said if she's away or she's sick. You know,
Greg,
it's kind
Greg,
of strange.
Greg, you are saying if she's aware or if she is sick or out of the country or whatever. You forgot the program one we broadcast the other day. I think 2 or 3 times we dealt with that particular subject. of the deputy head of state, which is not a she, and that same deputy head of state sitting down in cabinet, being subservient as the cabinet secretary. The one and the same, as I will call his name right now, Mr. Stuart Leslie. He is not a she. So you can't blame.
Mr. Chairman,
Wait. You can't blame she, the first and primary Governor General, for the ills of the cabinet secretary while he's acting as temporary Governor General. See, so we could get into a situation there where you blame one for the other, but because the services or the actions are coming out of the same office, right? But under the hands of the Prime Minister's guidance through his own cabinet secretary to assent to things that they want to have go through in the absence of the real Governor General. But the Constitution says that the acting Governor General exercised the powers vested in him by the primary Governor General according to the writ. But that's not how these guys operate. Every chance that that lady is not available, first of all, I don't think she knows all the mechanics of her powers, or that she would probably want to use it because she's beholden to them, they haven't been the one to recommend her for appointment to that job. So she don't want to necessarily fall afoul of them. So they are doing things and bringing her into disrepute by virtue of the evil and dastardly things that they do, that especially we complain about because we can see what they're doing and we point it out. It's nefarious. It's evil. And that's what constitutes what you call constitutional crisis. But that's another discussion for a different show. I yield back, sir.
well, Mr. Chairman, again, for the people at home and abroad that does not understand what the structure of the Constitution is and why the government is coming to you and trying to help you to help him get rid of our present Constitution is because with all the supermajority, there is a bar to what they can do with our Constitution. They can make and create any law that is consistent with the Constitution.
Exactly.
They cannot create or make any law
That's
that is
inconsistent
inconsistent.
because they're then
And
ruled null and void.
correct. So let's hear what this good gentleman has to say.
Mr. Chair,
One must shake the foundation, it becomes an earthquake. Something that you can't alter at all. Suppose you want to convert it into a Hindu religious state. Answer is no. What is supreme is neither the Supreme Court nor the Parliament. What is supreme is the Constitution. Law, etc. takes second place. Yeah, it may be according to law, but is it just?
On the 50th year of the Basic Structure Doctrine that requires the court to review and restrict Parliament's powers to amend the Constitution's foundational principles, the Indian Express spoke to veteran senior advocate Fali Nariman. The doctrine was evolved by the Supreme Court in the 1973 landmark ruling in Keshavananda Bharti versus State of Kerala, which said that the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended by the Parliament.
On the 50th anniversary of the Keshavananda Bharti ruling, we speak with none other than Fali Nariman, who was an additional Solicitor General at that time and has a blow-by-blow account of the case from Sirbai, as he says. Let's understand more about what the doctrine means today and what relevance it continues to have. 50 years of the Basic Structure Doctrine. Does it surprise you that the court still applies this doctrine and it still continues to exist?
No, not at all. On the contrary, if it didn't exist, we would have a constitution by today which you wouldn't be able to recognize as a democratic constitution. You see, it has been a face-saving formula, which only with these three words, basic structure doctrine, has been a face-saving formula for upholding the Constitution as it was intended to be. Because you must remember the preamble, because always remember that in a constitutional amendment, you must see if you are trying to breach the preamble, because the preamble mentions what you want to do. You want to provide justice, equality, fraternity, and so on, and democracy in a democratic republic. Now, does it remain democratic if it is factually not democratic?
But when you say it is to protect the democratic order of our constitution,
yes,
there is a view in the government that this is actually violating the supremacy of the parliament. How do you see that?
Yeah, you see, the supremacy of parliament is very important. You are right, absolutely correct. But then, in a party system, an all-party, one-party parliament is not democratic.
But if the government or through the court were to relook or revisit this basic structure,
makes no difference. They will come to the same conclusion. Because to my mind, I mean, anybody who is reasonable would come to the same conclusion. And I do believe that I still have faith in the judges. Doesn't matter how they are appointed, why they are appointed, sometimes rightly, sometimes wrongly, etc., etc. But it's a matter of human temperament, because you don't like to see injustice. What you think is injustice, therefore, doesn't appeal to you. That's a very basic thought amongst all the people. Therefore, you will find among judges also, you will find that thread goes, and that's why the word justice is the first word in the preamble. Remember, it is a very overarching thing, and it governs our whole constitution. So when you find some injustice, you must try to see how you can interfere. Because if there is injustice, that's very important. Law, etc., takes second place. Yeah, it may be according to law, but is it just? And that's where the Constitution comes in.
Right now, before the Supreme Court, we have this bunch of cases which will have to be tested against the basic structure doctrine, whether that is the amendments to the Citizenship Act or Article 370, all of these cases.
You see, they are all capable of being corrected, even in favor of the government. I don't have any qualm about it. But I don't see any, at least I hope not, in the near future, the basic structure doctrine, whether with the 15 judges or 17 judges or the whole court, will make any difference. I have full confidence in the judiciary. I still have a great confidence in the judiciary. I may not like one or two judgments. I may criticize the judgment, but ultimately I believe the court is the greatest savior of our liberties. And that's why Article 32 is so important.
I want to take you back to 73. In the Keshwananda ruling, you see that some of the anxiety that the court has is coming from what happened in 1930s Germany. Is there a correlation with that time, those anxieties and what we have right now?
Yes, and that is revealed not so much by our judgment, but by the Constitutional Court of Germany's judgment. You will find that there is a Constitutional Court judgment which upholds this principle, because they had certain basic laws, as they call them. It's the same thing as foundation, basic structure, basic laws, which you can't alter. You see, something that you can't alter at all, because you have to call a new constituent assembly to call that. And that is impossible in our country, because...
So now you hear it.
Well said.
They can't alter the Belize constitution, so now they want to write a new constitution. And the only way to do that is to come to you, try to teach your rights, and ask you what you want to take out. So when you tell them, yes, we want to take this out, they go and they do what they want to do.
Greg, when they come in a slick move, right? and sit there and teach the people in the Constitution. And then they want to ask them questions. They want to ask them for answer surveys the same night or the same day when they go meet them. How much more educated are those people about the Constitution from the time they go and meet them until when they ask them to fill out their survey paper or a few hours later? They're a bunch of jackals and hyenas and bamboozlers. It takes lawyers years and years to learn, understand, and implement a constitution. It takes seasoned judges of many decades, like a Judge Conte or Judge Benjamin or Judge those status judges, or in the case of this gentleman we just started just now. Those people are learned people. They have spent decades around the subject matters. And still, every once in a while, they get overruled by other courts above them. Courts above the Supreme Court get overruled by the appellate court, and the appellate court gets overruled by the jurisdictional court for the whole area, at the ICJ. And those things happen. You cannot be so learned on the subject matter that you not make errors or mistakes. As in the case of this judge, they talk about just now, rule on this Section 90 stuff. She ruled on a Section 90 case that was brought before her, dispensed with the case without dealing with the elephants in the room. Other than to just tell the people who brought the case, get out of my face and get out of my room. Of course, I will say, well, she was doing a good job as far as the government is concerned. Because you leave the government transgressing the Constitution with no redress to the people who have brought the case, or to the people of Belize who deserve to have their constitutional right upheld. Instead of this bogus thing, we'll have 10,000 people in one division, they vote for one representative, and 19,000 in another division. In fact, I know all 19,000, 1900 and for Judge or Albert division vote anyhow. Those are the registered voters. A part or an amount of them come out to vote on election day. So you have less than 2,000 people to vote for an elected official. Well, we yield more power than sometimes the people want to vote 10,000 on their own division. That's sacrilegious. That's against all basic principle of law and basic constitutional requirements as per our Section 9 Constitution of Belize. And this jackass judge want rule to chase the people out of the courtroom instead of deal with the substantive matter. And then spend 41 pages citing a lot of cases from all over the world that justify her ruling the way she wanted to make her final ruling turn out. You know how much time she spent to compile all that material, or the people who work for her as her clerk spent to compile all the material in defense of what she decided she wanted to do? Because she had to arrive at that conclusion by going through all that material before she rendered the judgment. She knew what she wanted to do, which is why she picked those particular case law out. And the fact that she is the judge and she ruled on it, no means that I don't know better and capable of telling her that she erred, instead of using some other language to describe what she did. But I'll leave it at that. I'll give you the last word, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
People piss me off, man.
But again, tonight, people at home and abroad, I hope we have enlightened you, and you can see from social media what is going on in Belize. Right now, you have different organizations or entities coming up against the government in tourism. Everybody is getting to the point where they are openly criticizing the wrongdoing of the present government.
She don't too long to suck their finger.
I will leave it at that, and I will go back to the chairman for the closing.
All I want to say, Greg, is thank you very much for your participation as one of our main panelists, and for being a technician in the background, also providing us all these technical support with videos and contextualizing and research that you have to do, because this show requires a lot of front-end work, okay? when you have to go out there, first of all, you have to know where to go search for or research for. You got to go do the research and find it, then contextualize it in terms of how you want to present it to the general public. So I want Belizeans at home and abroad that listen to this particular show for them to understand that you're not being paid for your services. You're doing what you're doing on behalf of this show and on this show as part of the crew. And I personally want to say kudos to you, big you up, and express my personal sense of gratitude for your effort to enhance our show, because without the effort that you put out, our show would be that much less. Thank you very much, Greg, and God bless, and have a nice evening, and thanks Belizeans at home and abroad for listening to another one of our show. It seems like as we keep doing these shows, we keep tackling more serious matters, and we keep, and as in my case, getting hot under the collar and can't bear to see that people are seeing what's happening, and like it's no big deal to nobody. Well, of course, you just mentioned just now that we are observing that quite a few other entities are becoming involved in terms of trying to bring some accountability to our government. But at the end of the day, these guys will win another election and give us 5 more years of the same shenanigan again, because of the dastardly conduct of the opposition, who are being a paid opposition without rendering the service for which they are being paid. Belizeans at home and abroad, thanks, good night. Like Moses would have said, Mosai, we gone! God bless.